It is recording, so we're not started yet. So what's your comment?
Anyway, thank you. My point is, thank you. Can we address them for you?
We'll record it just in case you care. What? We'll record it just in case you care. This meeting's recorded. Is it on video? Recording right now. Well, good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and get this meeting started. John, if you could call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Atkins. Connett.
Here.
Crawford.
Here.
Darcy.
Here.
Graff.
Here.
Hall. Hall. Harris.
Here.
Hovey.
Here.
Emig.
Here.
Josting.
Here.
Longfellow.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Minton.
Here.
Newhouser.
Here.
Crail.
Here.
Rich Simpson.
Here.
Cortina.
Here.
Sen.
Here.
Sundell.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Chairman Zimmerman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We'll do business. If we could rise for the invocation and pledge, please. Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to live in this free country where we can come together as free people and discuss these issues in a way that I pray honors you, even on those issues where we may disagree. I pray that we can do it in a civil manner. Thanks for this board, and I pray that you grant us all wisdom and discernment as we work through these issues. I thank you for our employees. We just have fantastic employees, and they're a gift from you, and we appreciate everything that they do. And thank you for the citizens of this county and the responsibility that they've given us. I pray that we can do it in a way that honors them and honors you. I pray for those members that couldn't be with us tonight, and they know that they're in our thoughts and prayers. And as we work through these issues tonight, give us wisdom, Father. You're a great God. Thank you for our law enforcement too, and the jobs that they do in putting their lives on the line every day for us. Pray for those with COVID, and I pray that you can protect us from the COVID, and thank you for those people on the front lines that again are risking their health for our health, and we appreciate that. Pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time I'd like to ask Joe Roberts to come forward, and County Clerk Ackerman will swear him in. Oh wait, you know what? We haven't approved you yet. So actually, let's do things in the right order. However we do that. Can I get a motion for E2069?
So moved.
Motion by Amick, second by Hovey. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Now you can come forward, Joe. So.
I state your name.
I, Joseph K. Roberts,
Having been appointed.
to the
Having been appointed.
to the office
Having been appointed. Having been appointed.
to the County Board seat, District 3. Having been appointed, I'm sorry,
To the office of County Board
to the office of County Board
in the County of Tazewell,
in the County of Tazewell,
in the State of Illinois,
in the State of Illinois.
aforesaid do solemnly swear
I do. After said, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the
of
Constitution
the State of Illinois,
of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of County Board
of County
to
Board
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The rest is easier, Joe.
Yeah, I kind of goofed up there, so I didn't take my glasses.
It'll be a while before we let that down.
Yeah.
I did not receive any communications from members of the public, so I will move down to communications from elected and appointed county officials. Anyone? Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who know me, you know that I'm a huge proponent of collaboration and teamwork when dealing with issues facing the county. I am also one to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and not jump to conclusions. However, as your finance chairman, it's also my duty to notify the board of situations that have a negative impact on our operations. 45 days ago, I was informed of such a situation, and last week at our monthly finance meeting, I had to regrettably inform the committee that the new Avila MIP financial software we purchased over a year ago is not operational nor implemented and will not be able to utilize this very important resource when we begin our budget meetings next month. In fact, the software will most likely not be operational until 12/1 of 2020 at the earliest. Needless to say, I'm extremely frustrated and disappointed that after we as a board unanimously supported this project and committed the funding, as we sit here tonight, we still don't have a usable product. Just to briefly recap the timeline on this project. On October 23rd, 2017, yes, 2017, our Kaizen group met to evaluate the prospect of utilizing a new financial software. Kaizen is a process improvement methodology that Tazewell County has heavily invested money and resources in to train staff on using this process and methodology to identify areas that the county can improve on and create efficiencies. The new financial software was deemed a priority by all, subject to proper funding being available. On May 17, 2018, there was a request to arrange a meeting to discuss next steps for the Avila MIP software purchase. On June 8, 2018, Auditor Haranka held a meeting with the Zobrio staff. Zobrio was the vendor for the Avila MIP software. Also at that time, the auditor made it abundantly clear that she and only she had the statutory authority to evaluate and recommend for purchase and to fully implement a new financial software for the county's purposes. All other stakeholders involved or impacted throughout the county honored that request, respected the auditor's internal control, and have stayed in their respective lanes. As well, all stakeholders have been more than willing to offer assistance when asked. In September of 2018, at our budget committee meetings, it was unanimously agreed upon that the proceeds from the sale of a Mackinac property the county owned at the time would be used to fund the purchase of the new financial software for the county. In November 2018, quotes were received from vendors on the Avila MIP software. On November 14, 2018, 2 weeks later, at an in-place finance meeting, a proposal to approve Zobrio as our vendor was pulled due to the fact the committee had too many unanswered questions, the proposal was vague and open-ended, and other county stakeholders were not consulted. The auditor was advised to deliver these concerns to Zobrio and to bring back a clarified proposal for recommendation. After numerous requests by myself and others as to the status of this updated proposal, 6 months later, on May 1st, 2019, the auditor received an updated proposal and contract language from Zobrio. On May 21st, 2019, the Finance Committee again reviewed a recommendation to approve the new proposal from Zobrio for the Avila MIP software. The decision was again deferred as it was discovered that the auditor had not provided the proposal and contract language to the state's attorney for review prior to recommending approval. The Tazewell County Board has always consulted the state's attorney on any pending contract language under consideration for the board's protection as well as the taxpayers of Tazewell County. June 18th of 2019, and with the assistance again of the state's attorney, the Finance Committee recommended approval of the contract with Zobrio. And finally, on June 26, 2019, the full board unanimously approved the Zobrio proposal. So 1 full year has now passed since approval and still no functioning software. Year to date, we have spent $98,000 plus on this implementation with no accountability. In fact, after digging deeper into expenditures, I discovered that we had paid $6,400 for support services. Support for what? We don't have a usable product, so how and why would we need support? Again, with the assistance of the state's attorney, Zobrio has agreed to credit the county as this was billed in error. And if that wasn't enough, last week, as I was reviewing the weekly check register of bills to be paid, I discovered yet another invoice from Zobrio for $6,400 for this year's support services. And the auditor approved this invoice to be paid. I had this invoice pulled, and it is not being paid, and this was communicated to Zobrio. Finally, my biggest frustration is that we are still paying to support the Bucks financial software system, our current outdated financial software that we don't want to use, and we're also paying to support the new software that we can't yet use. Mr. Chairman, actions speak louder than words. I, along with the rest of the committed individuals on this board, are the true watchdogs of the taxpayers' money. Our county has a proud history of doing the right thing, and it's time we make that happen. A team has been assembled and is having weekly status meetings with Zobrio to ensure the project stays on course and gets the time and attention it deserves. This team will also serve as the implementation group so that when the new auditor takes office 12/1 of 2020, we have a group of stakeholders in place to ensure a smooth transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for what you've done here. Brandon?
Mr. Chairman, I am disgusted and appalled with Auditor Barinka's lack of action. You know, I have written an opinion piece endorsing Brett Grimm for auditor. And this is a lady who said she was a watchdog. She was a watchdog that barked and growled at everyone. Is there any possible way we can ask for her resignation and seat Auditor Grimm in so we can start repairing this problem in earnest?
All right, thank you, Brandon. Any other comments? And for those of you who don't have a microphone, if you would like to come up to the, Brandon, you projected just fine, I believe, but anybody that would like to come to the, any other comments? Mike?
Dave, I'd like to support what Tim brought forward. I think the incompetence of our existing auditor is should be brought forward, and everybody should know about it. The second thing, I asked you in the executive about a meeting last Friday that the auditors filed a lawsuit. Is that been settled?
There was a hearing Friday, and they tried to get the suit reinstituted, but the judge dismissed every charge again.
So that's off the table.
Yes.
All right. Our absentee auditor is not helping the county at all.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Russ?
Well, you need microphone or not?
Yeah, please.
It always sounds like I have a microphone on you when I don't have.
I didn't want to say that, but
It's, the truth is what the truth is. I appreciate Tim's comments. I'm gratefully disappointed in those comments, and not in the comments, but in the language of the comments. And I think the taxpayers of Tazewell County deserve to know how and why this happened. Tim, knowing Tim Newhouser as I have, as we all have for many years, knows that he's a gentleman and he's diplomatic, much more than I am. And but I think that, I don't know if this is the forum, but the people of Tazewell County, the taxpayers, need and deserve an explanation as to how this happened and why it happened. Thank you.
thank you, Russ. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from June 24th and June 29th? Motion by Josting, second by Conant. They are in the packet. Any changes, deletions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We do have one in-place meeting tonight, Human Resources. Chairman Frail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sue, will you call the roll, please?
Chairman Frail.
Here.
Darcy.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Conant. Here. Graff.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Dimick.
Here.
Mennel.
Here.
Minton.
Here.
Newhouser.
Here.
Shortino.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have one item on the agenda for tonight, and that is a new business, HR 2019. Do I have a motion to bring that to the floor? Nick for the motion, and second by Mindy. Tony. I knew better. I don't need to. Tony. Okay, and that's to recommend to approve a replacement hire in the Sheriff's Department. You all received a letter from Sheriff Lauer explaining it. This is one of those things that occurs oftentimes through the year, it seems, but hopefully we have our staff in place pretty well. Would Sheriff Lauer like to make any comments?
Well, since I wrote the letter, we have been testing. We test every 2 years to establish a list. We had 48 applicants when we started, then COVID hit. We tested last weekend, had 10 people show up and 5 passed. We still have to have written testing, and I expect half of those will fail as well. So we're kind of under the gun with that, and I've got one other retirement coming up in April. I've got one that may possibly be going to the feds. I have 2 on injury, and one's in the military for 6 months. So it happened real fast and all of a sudden, so I need to try and build the deputy strength back up.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Sheriff? We'll do the best we can to support you on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That was an aye for a favor, I assume. Seeing no further business, we are in recess. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Nancy. Brings us down to our consent agenda items. A member requested 3 be pulled, the wheel loader. Item 4 will be pulled. Item 11. Item 13, which just came out of committee. And then we've already approved item 17. Is there anything else to be pulled this evening? Nick?
Just a procedural question, Mr. Chairman. Can item 5 be approved before item 4?
We can certainly do it that way. I mean, we can pull 5 off to approve the reappointment. Should we do that? Let's do that. So we'll pull 5 off also.
I move approval.
For the consent agenda by Graff, can I get a second? Second by Minton. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Can I get a motion for the appointments A through D? Motion by Sin, second by Frail. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And Carolyn abstains on C for his own, so thank you, Carol. That'll bring us back to our agenda. Item 3, can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Sandell, second by Jostings. Questions on the wheel loader? Tammy?
I just had questions on approving the 1,600 lease amount. I wanted to know if that was a voluntary alternate made during the bid time, after the bid time.
I don't know, Greg, can you handle that? Or Craig Fink, are you on the phone this evening?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. I couldn't hear the question.
Tammy, can you repeat the question again, or maybe come up to the microphone so it's a little clearer?
I just wanted to know if the 1,600 lease amount for the cat wheel loader was a voluntary alternate at bid time or after bid time.
Did you hear that, Craig?
I heard, I couldn't understand before, after what time?
After the bid, the 1,600.
You received bids, these two bids, is that correct?
It was a quotation process, but they were sealed and they weren't open and read at committee, at transportation committee, and they wrote that in there. So that was open and read, the same as the bid that was requested. They offered the 1,600 as an additional option.
So did they give you also what the equity is to bring that? Are we assuming that the equity is $600, the difference with their quote?
The difference is the monthly difference. The equity is the total amount over the 3 years that we leased the machine that we have now. So we already knew that number. We knew that number when we entered the lease agreement 3 years ago, but it was not disclosed. It was not part of the quote process. All-Torper Caterpillar, or All-Torper is the one who is leasing us the current machine, so they certainly know that number, but there's no way that anybody else would have.
Correct. I was just, if we're going to use the equity, I was just concerned about, the difference in the bids, if you would just want the equity up front, or if you're using the equity or you're prepaying, basically you're prepaying by using that equity, you're just prepaying a bigger lease amount every month. I mean, I understand the lease amount is $1,600, but as you're using that lease amount or equity amount, you're prepaying.
That's correct, because they are not cutting us the check for the equity and the 1,600 that they wrote in. They're going to keep the check instead of cut it to us. So that reduces their cost of financing a new machine and leasing it to us. So that's why they threw that in there. It wasn't asked for, but they threw it in as an option, and then that lowers your monthly payment, as you can see, quite a bit.
Correct. So cutting the check was not an option.
Yeah, the quotation process did not request that option because we were trying to get them to quote apples to apples, which they did. But then they also offered this as an option.
Okay. So if they hadn't done it, we would have basically the $21.96 difference over the 36 months. But because you're using the equity, you feel the 1,600 is the way to go.
Yes. And actually, if you do the math on because Caterpillar, All-Torper included in their quotation packet the interest rate that they were using that was being financed. So kind of like a full disclosure, they didn't have to, but they provided that. And when I plugged that 16,700 back into the original, or to the equity from the existing machine, it actually works out that the payment would be over 1,600, but they went ahead and lowered it to 1,600. So I feel that it's a good offer. I don't have any problem with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Russ?
One of the questions Tammy asked to the county engineer was, did he agree that X, Y, and Z? And he said, yes, he did. For the sake of this board, the whole committee, 100% also agreed and so voted, and that's why this is here before us. So let's not make this about Craig Fink. Thanks.
I understand, Tammy, yeah. Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had called Greg today too, just because I had some questions. Someone had called me about the bid and said, I thought we usually take the lower, and I said, well, it's a quoted bid, which is different. And the other one was lower, but there were some other factors that was brought in at the meeting. So, just something to kind of go by. I think Russ had said, we really do appreciate other people putting bids in. I mean, that's what it's about, trying to get the best equipment, and we appreciate it. So I hope that people continue to do this and don't just look at it as, Caterpillar won again or whatever. There were some other things that went into it as far as the equipment, and I also talked to Greg Mennel about it, about what they prefer. So that's really why, at least I made my decision in working. So Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brandon?
No, Tony hit the nail on the head. I mean, this was a process that the committee worked together with. We collaborated. We had good intentions. We're about serving the highway department and the taxpayer.
Greg, Sim?
But the bid for the deer was cheaper to start with. And the equity could have been transferred to the deer contract and been the same. It was within dollars, but the deer was cheaper. And I think there was, some conversations were, do you take the local person in the local service and some things like that. I think that, you can use those factors and stuff. I hate using that as a factor because I want to get people to bid in and stuff like that. It was interesting once you threw in the other house. It was so close, it was probably close to a draw, but truth be told, the deer was cheaper. But it's a sticky wicket to do when we pick people other than that and where we start and where we stop. We did have a good discussion on it. We did come to agreement. But I hate going this way. It makes it sticky. Where do you start? Where do you stop as far as picking who's not a little bit? Thank you.
Greg? Greg?
I think there's a lot of value in, because the quote, it was not a bid, it was a quote. It was so close. And the value that Caterpillar brings to this county. I know that there's an argument about, well, there's people that work for the John Deere dealer that live in the county, but we're talking about Caterpillar as the main employer for Tazewell County, and we cannot discount that. It's huge, and that's why I favored it. And I probably would have, even if the margin was some higher. I do expect a bid that is somewhere in line, but the value that Caterpillar brings to this county, it's big. So that's why I favored it, and I think. Well, I won't speak for the committee. They can speak for themselves.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of this signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Aye. Motion passes. Can I pull item 5 first? Can I get a motion to get this on the floor? Motion by Mennel, second by Crawford. This is on the reappointment of the county engineer. Any comments or questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? And then back to item 4, T2039, the engineer's contract. Can I get a motion to get that? Motion by Sundell, second by Prail. We actually do just have, I don't believe we need to go into executive session for this, just a couple of cleanup languages. Yeah, Greg?
Yeah, if you will. I'd like to just make a statement about this before we, or do we need to do the amendment first?
You know what, let's go ahead and just do the amendments, okay, and then we can talk about that. So, I believe this is in their packets also.
Brandon is going to kind of, sorry.
That's all right, go ahead, Greg.
Go through that a little bit and outline the changes.
All right, well, as you can see here, you'll find us in your folder, fellow members. We've got an employment agreement for the county engineer. And all I'm proposing and the committee is proposing is just the correction of this agreement. These are minor verbal or semantic changes. There is nothing critical in this. If you thumb through this, I had it marked, but unfortunately, here we are. So right here on this list, you will see 2 highlighted areas. Paragraph 7, equipment and personnel, just highlight it to where it's county issued. In the following paragraph under number 7, instead of nay, it is changed to any. So again, those are the changes that are presented in this. Moving to the next page. Number 13, audit of accounts. Again, as I stated earlier, these changes are not critical changes. They are merely changes in semantics or verbal areas.
Okay, are you making it in the form of an amendment, Brandon?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's amendment, second by Crawford on the amendment. Are there any questions regarding the amendment? Just some language changes. All those in favor of the amendment signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Back to the agreement as amended. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. I have some questions.
Yes.
Just to get me updated, or these 6 years, is that required by state law, or is that something put in by us?
Yes, that's state statute.
All right. The next question is, how is the salary structured?
Mr. Chairman, a point of order. I recommend we go into executive session. For this, we're talking about a gentleman's salary, and I think at this point, this is something that he mentioned to us. He would like this to be handled in a more professional manner.
Let me just get a clarity. Are you just asking on the percentages for each year?
Just asking how the state, what they put in, and what we have to meet. It's nothing to do with the person.
Are you comfortable that we're just talking about?
I am not comfortable, Mr. Chairman. This is something that Mr. Fink brought up to our Transportation Committee. He was very upset at the last procedures involving his salary. Again, I believe the argument that we are not talking about a person. At the same point in time, we are talking about a person's job, and unfortunately, that person's job still involves a person.
I just want clarification how it's set up. The state pays a certain percent, we have to meet a base.
So not yet, Brandon. We're not talking about just the state reimburses X percentage of the. I'd rather not go into executive session until we get into specific numbers. But Greg, do you have an answer to that?
I think so. That in order to use motor fuel tax to pay the county engineer's salary, or most of the salary, they require a minimum salary.
Okay.
We're above that.
So we can use motor fuel tax in order to do that. Okay.
I don't know the exact amount of what that is. I know I don't have that for this year, but we're above that threshold.
And it's different for different population size counties.
Every county is different.
Okay.
All right, the third question I have is, we have a clause in here, termination by employee. And on the original contract, I read termination caused by employee, and then it had something in there about how the county could terminate, but it was through a process and it referred to a certain statute or something. Do we have a process for termination in this contract? The county itself?
I can answer that. Mike Holly, are you on the phone? And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review the contract.
I am on the phone. I did review the contract, but I can't hear the discussion very well.
So, Mike, let me just tell you, you have your priorities correct. But beyond that, in the superintendent's contract, for termination on the county side, is there language in there if we would need to do that?
I don't recall if there is in the contract, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that the termination of the county engineer is dictated by state statute.
It's dictated by state statute also, okay.
So the state projects, has a statute, process that we have to follow.
Yes.
What grounds are, I'm not, I'm just looking at the value of the contract.
Right. If you want to go into that deeper.
I can ask questions later.
You want to go into executive session?
No.
Okay.
I'll go to my thing.
Okay.
Any other questions? So we're back to the contract as amended. Any other questions? Yeah.
Just a comment?
Yes.
I know that when it comes to these types of items, it's difficult, and there's so many things that our employees or electeds or appointed officials do that are difficult to quantify. But I just want to publicly acknowledge Craig's commitment, his professionalism, and everything that he's done for the county. I witnessed that firsthand as I was chair of Tri-County Regional Planning for 2 years. There were lots of things going on behind the scenes, and every time somebody mentioned something, they mentioned that Craig was the subject matter expert. He was the go-to guy. He was the one that was leading, what was going on, and when somebody needed an answer, they would go to him. And it always made me feel good because, to me, that's my team. That's Team Tazewell, and Craig has always done a very good job at that, but also each year when he presents a budget, which is, he's got a very complicated budget to deal with. It's concise, he knows where every dollar comes from, and so we have to make some of those tough decisions. It's nice to know that the detail that he provides to the county on all levels is well thought out, and we can make valuable decisions for that. So I just wanted to thank him publicly. I'm glad that we're doing this for another 6 years because I think he's obviously the cream of the crop. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I agree with you, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Greg?
Yeah, I just have a statement to make that might be helpful, and I echo Tim's comments too. As the Transportation Committee discussed the reappointment of Craig Fink as County Engineer for the 6-year term required by statute.
Greg, can I stop you for 1 second? For those of you on the phone, can you hear the comments?
No.
Do you mind coming up to the microphone, Greg?
Good catch. It's right over there.
As the Transportation Committee discussed the reappointment of Craig Fink as County Engineer for the 6-year term required by statute, the committee considered the condition of the county's finances and particularly the current concern of decreased revenues and the uncertainty surrounding its extent and duration and the difficult staffing and payroll positions that lie ahead. At the same time, the committee noted that county motor fuel tax revenues, even though they are impacted by COVID-19, remain closer to the 2020 predicted levels of 68% increase over 2019 than the 2019 levels due to the passage of last year's Rebuild Illinois by the state. The committee felt, in addition to Mr. Fink's highly valued performance, some recognition of his additional effort was due for his direct involvement in the statewide effort throughout his employment with Tazewell County to ensure the state would be more equitably share the transportation revenues they collect in the Transportation Capital Program, which occurred in Rebuild, Illinois. The committee unanimously agreed to recommend to the board a 3% increase for 2021 with 2% increases per year for the final 4 years. I think I'd like to let Craig make a comment if he wants to. If Craig wants to make a comment, I think we ought to let him.
Sure. So Craig, we're offering you the floor. Craig Fink, if you'd like to make any comments.
I heard what you said, Chairman Zimmerman, and I really, really appreciate that. I didn't hear the part of what Greg Reynolds was saying.
He was highly complimentary of your service here and what you've done statewide, and then just wanted to offer you the floor if you had any comments that you'd like to make.
Well, that's a huge surprise and very, very much appreciated. Thank you, and I appreciate the kind words. It's still an honor to work for Tazewell County for this group. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Craig. Nancy?
Well, I've been a part of this transportation committee for quite a few years, and I've had worked for several committee chairmen who've all been very good. But I have to compliment Greg Reynolds on all this because of what he's done and helped us do as we followed through this process. But I too want to add my appreciation to Craig Fink, and I think we did the best we could for the county. We hired a wonderful highway engineer, and we tried to show him that we appreciate him through the salary, but also we're supporting him through his work, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nancy. Russ?
Feel like we're the roast. I can't let the opportunity go by. There were times, Mr. Fink's on the line, and maybe he can hear, and he knows there were times when we had very direct conversations. It's hard for a board member in Tazewell County to really fully appreciate what Craig did, not just for Tazewell County, but for the whole state of Illinois, 102 counties. And when we wrote all the language, and you guys know how I am, I'm anal, so we had to rewrite language, Craig did, and then we wrote processes, and then we wrote surveys, and then we identified who to go to, and between Eric Miller and Craig and I, we hit the road, and we made speeches, and we got to know each other very well, a lot better than just in a committee meeting. Anyway, I got to tell you that the feedback I got in counties, in north, the south, the east, the west, everywhere in the state of Illinois, was thanking us for the initiative that we took, and Craig really was the ringleader on that. I know some people were a little upset with the fact that he did that in addition to running Tazewell County's highway department, but he did it very efficiently and very well. And even though Springfield didn't, like always, didn't do exactly what we said and how we wanted it, the whole initiative that they did, which created a whole lot more revenue for Tazewell County and these other counties, was based a lot on the work that we did. So my hat's off to Craig Fink, and I did, I'm a little bit like Harris, I've got a conservative side to me, and I was a little upset with the length of 6 years. But if we got to have a 6-year term because of what the law says, at least I'm very comfortable with who it is that we're applying that 6-year term to. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Russ. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Motion passes.
Hey, Dave?
Yes.
Can I bring up something in transportation? It's just a comment.
Yes.
And it's no fault of the committee or anything. We have a company has a monopoly in Tazewell County and all the road work. We receive bids, and UCM is always there, and sometimes they're the only one there. And we had a challenge from Rockford one time, and UCM made significant efforts to eliminate them, and the state was involved in that. But this year, there's a mile stretch of road by my house. The first stage was to mill asphalt. It was 22 people, all in overtime, doing the work. And the reason they got is that UCM has so much work that they got to go here, go there, and satisfy everybody a little bit to took them 2 months to finish the road, a mile stretch, and UCM has a monopoly here. And I don't know how the county can get out of it. I know Craig sees it, the board sees it, but it's a situation that I don't think we should stay with now about how we get out of it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's it's just an issue that we'll have to deal with, and I don't know how we deal with that. So, all right, moving on then. Item 11, HR 2018. If I can get a motion to get this on. Motion by Mitten, second by Tammy Rich Simpson. Put this on the floor, and I believe we need an amendment. Go ahead, Nancy.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I have an amendment to that 2020 health fair resolution, and that is that there was a conflict on the dates, and so that I would like to move that the HR 2018 be amended for the following dates: September 16th, 2020, September 21st, 2020, and September 23rd, 2020, to replace the dates that are in the resolution.
Is there a second to that? Second by Graff. Any questions on the date change?
I have a question.
Yeah, Russ?
So I'm a little confused. Usually we have 2 days next to each other and a person can make an appointment for any time during those 2 days. Is that going to be for these 3 days they can make an appointment for any time? Or?
Because of the social distancing we'll have to do, they have to spread it out over a time period. So yeah, you'll be able to make an appointment for any of those days, and then one of those days they will also have people here for the people that are changing shifts at the sheriff's department. So those second and third shift people, so they can also get it right here on site instead of having to go anywhere. So Unity Point it's Optimum Health, but they're a branch of Unity Point. They were very helpful in making sure we could accommodate everyone.
I only wanted to say that thank you for clarifying that. And I do that every year, and I gotta tell you that the team of Tazewell County and Pekin and Unity Point is spot on. It's one of the best health fairs possible, and I'm real proud to be from Tazewell County when I go to that thing. Thank you.
I just want you to know that it is open to all board members. My only issue with it is they take a tape measure and go around your waist. That crosses a line, I'm telling you. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
One further comment. Some people were into the counseling, health counseling, health coaching last year, signed up for that. And because we're continuing that process, we will now begin to get data from this year for our staff, and hopefully that will, maybe even for some of us, if we need it. And we think that would be very valuable in the future with their health and with what we do to help our employees.
So, on the amendment to the date changes, can I get, well, we have a motion in a second. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Back to the original motion as amended. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? Aye. Down to item 13 that just came out of committee tonight. Can I get a motion? Motion by Newhouser, second by Emmett. Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Any unfinished business? Any new business? The bills have been sent out, so as you have an opportunity, please review those. We do have one change on the calendar, so can I get a motion to get that on the floor? Motion by Sundell, second by Harris. Insurance review, that will be August 13th at 3 o'clock. So maybe, I think you're on the phone, we will have insurance review this month, August 13th, so.
Got it.
All right. So I don't think I need an amendment for that. We're just going to approve the calendar. So all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.